All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday. I was going to say Tuesday, but it is Wednesday, January 22nd. We are now midway through the week. We've got a couple more days. Theme of the day right in front of you, market breadth. A little bit on the decline the last couple days. I think we'll need a couple more days. We are now officially in. I don't know, maybe not the I was going to say officially in earnings season. I don't know if it's the heart. I guess you could say it's the heart of earnings season. We're going to get more and more, a couple really big days of earnings ahead of us, where we'll see kind of how that plays out. We've already seen a couple names. I think somewhat expected. I think so far, like Netflix, popping and then selling off a little bit. Um, Netflix is kind of it is a FANG stock, but it's really not one of the big tech companies. They are actually a communications company. But, I think everybody knows the story with them. They've got a little bit more added competition. Really, the bigger names, Facebook, Google, Apple, when these guys report, I think it'll be a bit more eventful. Amazon as well. So what I noticed today was just something, just a little bit different. I've got market breadth on the decline a little bit. We're starting to see some groups where it was basically a couple weeks ago everything was going up. Now we're seeing things like the metals and mining breakdown. They are now back below the 200-day moving average. Remember that group was moving up. Like I said, most of December, maybe actually November and December, and then kind of went sideways for a bit and then down. Energy for a while was going up, more on global stuff, global fears, anxiety, that type of thing, moving back down. XOP, and energy, this is nothing new for energy. This has been a underperforming area for a while, but just to kind of show you when I see something different happen, this is wait for Thinkorswim to adjust here, but this is XOP, which doesn't want to come up here on Thinkorswim. The advanced decline line does not update. It will update tomorrow for today's price action. So, whoops, I think I've got to do this way. There we go. Just to see where this was yesterday, or you can kind of see. But off the highs. So there's nothing terribly alarming yet with this. I think there's some fears about what the World Health Organization is going to say. They've delayed their decision until tomorrow on this coronavirus regarding whether or not they're going to call this an official emergency. So we'll kind of watch for that. And I think, that's one thing that's in the headlines right now and could cause a little bit of a break in the upside momentum. The averages for the day, so I would expect this advanced decline line to come in more, considering if you look at the sectors, right? We from where things closed, right? Percentage change from open. There was only basically one group, and this is steel, which had an inside day today. Rebounded a little bit after a big decline yesterday. That was basically it for groups that were rallying post open. The Chinese internets, which started the day positive, did finish in the red. They got a nice bounce because China rallied overnight, but I think more news is coming out that there's more cases and they're stopping travel in some places. So it sounds like this could get worse before it gets better. But you can see this big red bar here. So, filling this gap, by the way, which there's always going to be gaps in this chart because most of the price action happens in China. But you could see this has come in basically back to the lows of yesterday. That's the Chinese Internet ETF. I got lucky on the JD, which is I started a position yesterday. Geez, I don't know why Thinkorswim is doing this, but JD still finished up 2.27%, was up about 4% in the beginning of the day. So this was a position that I added into red yesterday. I don't know what's up with Thinkorswim. It's been doing this lately. Here we go. As soon as I move the screen, but I took profits right around the high of the day, and then I got out of the position. I just figured, why mess with profits right now? So I took a small target here, 41.75. This is my add yesterday, and then I decided at the end of the day, with an hour to go, 41.21, which was about 30 cents higher or so from where I sold it. So that looked pretty good. Uh, let me go through the rest of the sectors, and then I'll talk about a few other trades and my thoughts going into the rest of the week. But yeah, I mean, you could see things. So of course, energy, right? We know that energy has been an underperformer for a while. So I put a couple charts on the interwebs on Twitter, and everybody's like, "Ah, well, yeah, energy's been underperforming for a while." Yeah, I agree. But also look at some names like Caterpillar. Caterpillar was off 2.2% today. So, I think the industrials are starting to look a little bit weak too. So, keep an eye on this. My thought, as usual, as I said, and I'll probably send out the weekend video publicly because it's old news, but you can kind of get the understanding of how I break down where I think the risks are versus the return. And as I went through in the weekend video, I talked about I think there's more risks, especially with earnings season. Earnings season we normally chop around, so what I've basically been saying. This is what I put out on Twitter, private Twitter earlier. Basically this kind of stuff. Whoops. Pretty much sticking to my plan, to my game plan as we are in earnings season. Trade less, being a bit more choosy, especially as indices are exhibiting a bit of more chop. Things I discussed in the weekend video that I thought could happen. I'll continue to watch for setups like we saw in Salesforce yesterday. Salesforce was a hell of a trade yesterday. We saw a whole bunch of call buying. And then today, ISRG triggered. This was one of the weekend Tribeca Trade Group watch list names that went off today. And I think the medical device group IHI had some really good strength to it in the beginning of the day, but this worked. ISRG reports tomorrow, but they already pre-announced. But nice break here, and again, this was a setup that I detailed already for members. So this worked really well. I got in on the open, and that went pretty well. Abbott finished, nice day. TMO is another one that continues to work. EW still finished up on the day, but gave back a lot of those profits. Couple days now of it's a nice move there. So that had some strength to it. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm playing a little bit more defense right now in terms of not trading as much. It's just normally the case during earnings season to back off. Earnings season, I think, is very tough, especially once you get into, basically where we are now, where more and more names are coming out, because you're going to get some names that underperform, and there probably will be a few names that do well too. I think it's going to be harder and harder for companies. I think you're going to see more of this, right? Texas Instruments reports and they don't do anything. Right? I just think names have made decent moves. CTXS is bucking the trend, so you're going to see a couple of those. But I think more often than not, you're going to see the Texas Instruments, or you're going to see the Netflix, which is chop and to lower a little bit. That's what I'm expecting for this quarter. I will be pleasantly surprised if we see some names, buck the trend. But I think this is a lot more of what we're going to see. Chop, basically. What else? Option activity, not anything really worthwhile. I would say there was some Nike calls, but again, you have to associate. Like, I don't think people do this on Twitter. Right on the high of the day, Nike calls went up. What strike did they do? I think they did the 110, February 110s. So I don't know. Maybe somebody knows something that I don't know. But to me, in a couple weeks, 110. You're looking. I mean, they're looking, and that's basically if they get up to 110, that's a scratch by expiration. So that's a big, another more than a 5% move, for Nike in a couple weeks. I don't know. We'll see. I'll watch to see, but for now they went up on the highs of the days. So I don't know. They were swept and so forth. So usually when they're swept and above the ask, they're usually bought. But I don't know. That's tough. I think that's a tough trade. If they went out to like April or May, I would have said, okay, fine. That kind of makes sense. But just out for a couple weeks, and this is Feb. One of these was Feb 7th. This is 106, so that's a little bit more reasonable. But I don't know, 110, or 110.50 when you factor in the premium. That's tough. That's a tough to think about getting that. So that was one of the trades that went up. Twitter, also a lot of weekly calls traded today. Notice that there's a VPOX right in front of it. So I don't take trades when you've got VPOX like right in front of it. Notice that that's right there at 34.58. So again, a lot of times this indicator that I have on my screens, the market webs, really helps me stay out of trades that otherwise end up being losers. So again, this is a little bit less trading than I normally do. Again, I hit this nice ISRG trade. I talked a little bit about, yeah, I've talked about win today too. I started a trade yesterday into the weakness. I did not add to it yesterday. Yeah, and that's all I basically traded today. I bought a little bit of Q's puts at the end of the day, made a little bit of money on it. But hopefully this market will continue to kind of give us a trade a day. Like 2 days ago, it was Salesforce. Yesterday, it was. Yesterday it was Salesforce. Today, ISRG, which was not option activity. That was my trade. Elon was another trade that I'm in. This went nuts today. There was some calls too in this today. Remember, there was calls last week, which kind of got me, brought my attention to them. So again, a lot of times option activity will bring your attention to a name that was not on my radar. Elon was not. This is another animal health company. Keep in mind when you look at what Zoetis has been doing, which is also animal health. Really doing really well. What's the other one? IDXX. That's been doing pretty well too. But I kind of think Elon. Again, you could speculate on why they're buying calls, but I think it's kind of a catch-up trade to the rest of the group, which has been soaring. So, but anyway, made some money in Elon today. Nice trade that I held from last week. Just final thoughts. I would say, mind your risk. We'll see if we get more divergences. Keep in mind that tomorrow, want to be on the lookout for more divergences in some of the sectors. And keep in mind, we have not lost the 5-period moving average. So even though the price action looked a little bit ugly, again, keep in mind that we started up 50 basis points again, or 40 basis points again. So again, the majority of the move, I say this a lot, I'll say it again, happens in the overnight market. Sometimes when we start up 30, 40 basis points, we're going to sell off throughout the session, which is what we did today. So we'll see how that continues to work, and we'll go from there. I feel like I had something else to mention too, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, just take one day at a time with the earnings. I continue to trade lighter and a little bit more defensive, and we'll continue to do that until the heart of earnings season is over. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.